So has time finally caught up for one of the stalwarts of Rangers defence over the last number of years, Connor Goldson? Now, I don't want to, this video, I'm not going to get into slagging him off. I'm not going to get into calling him names, into whatever. I want to look at stats. I want to look at facts. I want to look at goals. I want to look at what's gone on this season. And I want to look at kind of a general view on where we're at with the defence. To get a more reasoned argument with this, there's an awful lot on social media. Look, Rangers social media is an interesting place to look. It is interesting. Look, there are a lot of interesting takes. There are a lot of interesting opinions. And I'm not saying that everyone's wrong. I'm not saying that everyone is right. But, you know, Connor Goldson has, after that performance on Sunday, and it's not just that performance on Sunday, before anyone gets on my back and says, just because he played bad against Celtic, now you're getting about. No, I'm talking about in general, since Christmas. Since the start of the season, actually. And I want to kind of dispel a few myths as well. So, if you're welcome to, obviously, to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys, the channel that brings you your team every single day by the fans, for the fans, and all the places you can find us on social media, scrolling along the bottom of the screen. So, look, there have been some doubts, especially since the winter break, over the form of Connor Goldson. I think, you know, his performances, his displays against these teams, and even against some poor teams, have not been good at all. Let's deal with a few facts. Let's deal with a few stats. Let's deal with, obviously, what is coming up. Now, Goldson, as a defender, is, number one, not getting any younger. I think that's the first thing we've got to take into account. You know, Connor Goldson has played a valuable part for Rangers over the years and has certainly done a decent job for the club. You know, he was part of that 55 title winning season. He's won the Scottish Cup. He was part of the run to Seville. You know, he has been, you know, at the club now for a number of years. Goldson obviously is 31 years old, and he will be a 32-year-old by the end of this year, 2024. In total, he has made 306 appearances for Rangers. In all competitions, obviously joining the club back in 2018, 2019 from Brighton. You look, he, as a player, he's been a servant for the club. He has been here a long time. He has been a valuable servant for the club. I mean, we look over his stats since he came. You know, 34 appearances in 2018, 2019, 29 appearances in 2019, 2020, 38 in 2020, 2021, 36 in 21, 22, 25 in 22, 23, 27 this season in the Scottish. But these are all Scottish Premiership, obviously, appearances that I'm talking about now. You know, he has had a number of, you know, he has had a vast range of experience. And like I said, 306 total appearances, 23 total goals for the club. You know, in terms of his honours, he won the Scottish Premiership with Rangers in 2020, 2021. He won the Scottish Cup in 21-22. Scottish League Cup this season, was a Scottish Cup Scottish League Cup runner-up in 2019-20. 22-23, UEFA Europa League runner-up in 21-22, and was part of the PFA Scotland team in 2020-2021. That's where we're at. That's his kind of his honours. That's his appearances. That's where he, you know, that's what he's done. Now, one of the things that has always been said about Connor Goldson, and I can kind of echo that, you know, he is vice captain of the team. He is someone whose communication skills are very good. And I'm not going to deny that his organisation and communication skills are very good indeed. However, does this make him indispensable? No, it doesn't. Does this make him a player we can't do without? No, it doesn't. Okay, so let's look at another stat. People talk about the amount of goals conceded with Goldson, the amount of goals conceded without Goldson. Well, this season, our defence has been good. And that is not just down to Connor Goldson or John Suter or Leon Balogun or James Tavernier or Borna Barisic or Ridvan Yilmaz. That is down to a collective effort. You know, teams defend as a team. They attack as a team. And I think to single out just the defence or just the goalkeeper for praise in terms of defending does a disservice to the other players. You know, if you look at a performance by any team, I'm not talking about Rangers here, I'm talking about a whole range of teams right across, you know, in the English Premier League, the English Championship, the League, La Liga, Serie A, the Bundesliga. You look at the successful teams that have good defensive records. And it's very much about defending as a team. So the wide players track back to support their fullbacks. The double pivot, if they play a 4-2-3-1, for example, or the single pivot if they play a 4-1-2, whatever sort of system, obviously is a sitter moves back, they cover, they go in and drop in and support that back four. Defending is a team effort these days. It is not just one. It's not just down to 4 defenders and 1 goalkeeper. So I think to solely put that down to Tav, to Goldson, to Suter, to Balogun, to Barisic, to Ridvan and to Butland, obviously, is wrong and is unfair on the rest of the team. The same way that attacking is, obviously, Tav has contributed on the attacking side of things. The same way that, the strikers wouldn't score goals without midfielders crossing them the ball. The same way that, that teams wouldn't succeed without their midfielders chipping in with goals, as Cameron has done this season, as Lawrence has done this season, as Matondo and Seema have all done this season. So, look, you can't really kind of single it down to one player. Defence is a team effort, and it's very much down to the organisation of the manager, what the manager talks about, how the manager gets his teams to defend, how the manager gets his teams to work back, etc., etc. But just sort of breaking it down, average goals conceded this season with Connor Goldson in the team is 0.6. Average goals conceded without Connor Goldson in the team this year is 0.5. So hardly any difference, negligible, very negligible. In terms of, critical goals, goals that have made a difference in games, Celtic, let's talk about Celtic. We've got to talk about Celtic because at the end of the day, they are our biggest rival. They are the team that we have to beat, the team that we have to overcome to win the league every season. Whether we like it or not, Scotland is a 2-team league. It is very much down to us v them. No team has won the Scottish League since Aberdeen. It's always been Rangers and Celtic. So, record against them. His record against them is not great. You look back across fixtures in recent times against them, we have lost a lot more than we have won. If we let's just take this season at the moment, because we're kind of talking about where he's at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that back in 2021, he was not a good defender. I'm not saying that but the issue is, as you get older, you lose a step of pace. You lose a step even in your head as well to some degree. You slow down. And as you get older as a defender, as you go past that 30 mark, you lose a little bit of everything and your career starts to take that downward turn. It's not going to go up. It's not going to get better from 30, from 31, 32. The modern era of football, the way that football is played, the pace it's played at, the young players that are coming through, the days of, the great Milan teams that had experienced veterans that were outstanding right up until 36, 37, likes of Maldini, Baresi, Costa Curta, they're over. They're not going to happen again. So, look, Goldson's 32 at the end of this year. The problem is he is getting on in age. He is not going to get any quicker. He's not going to develop. He's not going to get better. He is only going to go backwards from here. That is just a footballing fact. There are very few footballers who improve with age. There are the odd exception, obviously, but, on the whole, they don't. So we're looking at those statistics, those facts. Let's have a look at some of the individual stats to do with Connor Goldson now. So this is from a football reference. This sort of breaks it down, looks at things like XGs, XAs, etc., etc. Looks at, puts them in percentile and compares him with similar defenders, e.g., similar value, similar position, similar league position, similar team size to where he is playing. That's how they do it. So they compare it across the board. So non-penalty goals, he's in the 17th percentile. He's right at the bottom because he hasn't scored this season. You can kind of criticize him a little bit for that. He has had headers that, that you do expect centre halves to kind of contribute from set pieces. But I think a lot of that is down to the poor set piece delivery that we get. I think the set piece delivery that Rangers experience over games is very poor indeed. So his non-penalty XG is 0.03. He's in the 25th percentile. So he's expected to get around 0.03 goals per 90. So he's in the lowest part of Europe in terms of comparison on that figure. His total shots are 0.29 per 90, puts him in the 17th percentile. Again, puts him in one of the lowest categories. His assists, he has no assists this year. You know, his passing does seem to be off a lot this year. Some of the passes that he was playing on Sunday were just very aimless indeed. Again, putting him in the 28th percentile in the red. So all those 4 categories there are red. Not good. Let's deal with expected assisted goals, 0.04, puts him in the 82nd percentile. So again, that's not bad. That's pretty decent. That's a green. Well done, Connor. Shot creating actions, so what he takes part in terms of helping to create phases of play that create chances for attackers and midfielders. It's 1.14 chances per game, which is 83rd percentile. So again, a decent result there. Passes attempted per game, he attempts 53.86 passes per game, puts him in the 45th percentile of defenders. So very sort of average, middle of the road. Pass completion percentage is at 84.6. That puts him in the 43rd percentile. So, you know, not good in terms of his pass completion percentage in relation to other defenders. 84.6 might seem quite good, but in terms of similar defenders across Europe, he is not scoring very highly and comparing very well with them. Progressive passes, so playing passes forward, playing, you know, one of the things that's always leveled at Rangers defenders and Rangers in general is the passive passing, the backward passing, the lateral passing. And there's a lot of that goes on at the back between Goldson and Suter, Goldson and Tav, Goldson and Barisic, etc., Goldson and Ridvan, etc. So in terms of progressive passes, he has 3.43 progressive passes per 90 minutes. That places him in the 52nd percentile, so about halfway in terms of defenders in Europe. Progressive carries, so that's bringing the ball out from the back. Now, something John Suter has done very well this season. Connor Goldson is in the 7th percentile, right at the very bottom. So he's not very good at bringing the ball out from the back. He doesn't do well at those runs at breaking the lines, at drawing out opposition forwards and opposition midfielders, something that John Suter does do very, very well indeed. So progressive, successful take-ons in terms of taking another player on. He hasn't done that at all this year. He's not managed to take anyone on and beat them. John Suter has. I know I've seen his statistics. So he's in the 3rd percentile for that. Touches per game, he's in the 66th percentile. So again, a green. So, you know, he does get a fair number of touches per game. Progressive passes, 0.14. In terms of passing the ball forward, he's not great at that. You know, the majority of his passes go sideways or backwards. They don't go forwards. So putting him in the 28th percentile. Tackles, he has 1.43 tackles per game, which puts him in the 49th percentile. So under halfway in terms of defenders of a similar type to him. His interceptions are 1.14 per game, which is 56%, just over halfway. His blocks per game is 1.29 blocks per game, putting him at 50%, exactly in the middle, in the 50th percentile, exactly bang in the middle. And his clearances per game sit at 6.57, put him in the 99th percentile, which is the highest that you can get. So that's pretty good. Aerial duels won. He wins 3.29 aerial duels per game, which puts him in the 91st percentile. So the only areas that he comes out well in this season are in assisted goals in relation to other defenders, in shot creating actions, so in helping to create opportunities in phases of play for players to shoot, and in terms of clearances and aerial duels won. That's where Goldson comes out well according to his stats. Now, in terms of those critical goals, let's get back to those. We look against Celtic. Kyogo at Parkhead, he backs off. He doesn't go and close him down. Kyogo gets the shot away. At no point does Goldson put his body on the line like John Terry used to for Chelsea, like Terry Butcher used to for Rangers, like Amo, like Richard Goff, you know, like Davy Weir, any of those players. So for me, that is one criticism. Again, falling asleep and allowing those balls over the top. Miovski at Pitodri, Kyogo in the Old Firm, the first Old Firm at Ibrox. He does seem to have that mistake in him. Motherwell this year, again, another mistake. He does seem this season to be less attentive, less focused, less able to cut out that critical ball. He does seem to be caught out not so much ball watching, but not even... yeah, ball watching, not watching what players are running off him. So again, that's a weakness there that needs to be stopped. So critical goals, he has given away, like I said, the similar sort of goal 4 times now where players have run off the back of him and scored. Goldson's form has not been good. The stats show that. The goals conceded show that. The performance against Celtic again was not good enough. He gives away that stupid penalty. There's a number of times as well this season he's got away with his arms in the air stuff. So look, I'm not trying to slaughter Goldson, and some of you may think I am. What I'm trying to do to you is present stats and facts that show you that the form that he is currently in is not good. You look at his performance stats from Footy Reference there. They're not great. He's not in, when compared with other similar defenders from around Europe, he is not scoring well. John Souttar has arguably been our best defender this season. He stood out against Benfica. He stood out against Celtic on Sunday. He has been our better defender. He does a lot of what Goldson cannot. Passes forward, breaking the lines. Souttar can do that. Carries forward in terms of going forward, drawing players out, being progressive in his carries. Souttar can do that. Souttar often will put his body on the line in terms of throwing himself in front of chances. Very good at that. Progressive carries, again, very good at that. Souttar seems to have a lot of those skills. Now, long term, I'm not saying that Souttar and Balogun are necessarily the answer. I do think Souttar does have a good future at Rangers. I do rate John Souttar as a defender. Since he's really got himself fit this season, he has looked like a quality player. So for me, John Souttar is someone who has to start. Now, if you look at the time that Souttar and Balogun have played together this season, which was Hibs away at Easter Road, a 3-0 victory for Rangers, they at all times go back and watch the tape. I've sat down, I've rewatched the tape for that a few times now. They look solid. They have an understanding, a clear line of communication. Their alignments are excellent. The way they defend is very good. The way they bring the ball out is good. The way they distribute the ball is good. Their tackling is very good and timely. Their interceptions are. They do a lot of very good stuff together. Now, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater, saying that Goldson never plays again this season. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that at this moment in time, if you look at his stats, if you look at his performances over recent weeks, he has not played well at all. And for me, that's time that he was dropped. He was put onto the bench and he was given a rest, a break, Souttar and Balogun to start the next game against Dundee and the next game against Ross County. Post-split, that kick up the backside that Goldson receives, you may see the old Connor Goldson. I'm not saying you won't. But what I'm saying is if you look at the guy's stats, if you look at his performances over recent weeks, you would see a man who is truly struggling, a man who is not playing well, a man whose passing is awful. I mean, Celtic, Sunday, some of those long balls that he played, which in the past have been very effective, were absolutely inaccurate, massively inaccurate, and just wasted the ball. So for me, Goldson is in a place where he needs to be protected. He needs to be taken out of the team by Philippe Clement. Whether Clement will do that, I don't know. It does seem that certain players within this team are very much undroppable. John Lundstrom, Connor Goldson, James Tavernier, to name but 3. But like I said, looking at the stats, looking at where we're at with Connor Goldson, I genuinely think that the best plan going forward against Dundee and against Ross County is to give Souttar the right side centre-back role, see how he plays in his favoured role, put Balogun on the left where he's done well this season, and let's see how they do against Dundee and Ross County. Then going into the split, you make another decision based on, has Goldson returned to form? Has that kick up the backside worked? Where are we at with that? Guys, I'd love to know your opinions. I really would. I think overall, looking forward, projecting into the summer, we do need a huge overhaul of this defence. I think in Dujon Sterling, we have an excellent replacement for James Tavernier. I think we need at least 2 centre-backs as well. I think Big Leon will be moved on at the end of the season. He is 36 years old at the end of all. I don't think Goldson has a future with this club. I really don't. I know he's under contract, and I think getting rid of him will be hard. But for me, he is not a starter next season. If we go into game 1 of next season with Connor Goldson as our starting centre-back, I think we have issues. Genuinely think we have issues. We need to bring in some new blood there. We need, in effect, a Richard Gough, Terry Butcher, Lorenzo Amoruso, style defender, no nonsense, physical, in your face. Yes, we're not going to get the same ability as that. Why? Because those sorts of defenders now cost an absolute bloody fortune. You know, buying someone like a Richard Goff now would cost you 70, 80 million pounds. Same for a Terry Butcher or a Lorenzo Amoruso. So that is completely out of the question. Guys, like I said, in the comments, let me know what you think. I've tried. Some of you may say I'm being completely negative about Goldson, but what I'm trying to do here is get across to you that the performances that we've seen and giving you instances, facts from those performances and stats from Footy Reference to show you stats, actual real stats of Connor Goldson's performances are not reflecting well on him this season. Guys, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, please smash the like on the way out. Likes help videos here on YouTube. And thank you ever so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Remember always, we are the people.